Well, here we are at the beginning of my journey. Today we're going to be taking my car on a ferry ride to the Outer Hebrides. And that journey is going to take about 230 miles worth of driving. Now, we're almost fully charged, but not quite. It is quite a rainy day, and I was hoping to charge up on the sunshine. As it happens, with the Octopus Go tariff, it's cheaper for me to charge up on roadside chargers than it is to charge up using grid power at home. At the moment, I'm paying 35 pence per kilowatt hour, and a fast charge in the Highland Council area will cost about 31 pence, and on a slow charge it will cost about 20 pence. So let's get in the car and we'll get going. Okay, so we're going to go to our destination on the Isle of Harris, and as you can see on the map, it's suggesting we go via Ullapool, but I have got a trip to go via Uig. So we're going to just type in Uig, and we're just going to select that, and we'll see what it comes up with in terms of a suggested route. Now, it's thinking that Uig is in East Point, which is a bit strange. So what I'll do is, instead of Uig, we will just add Portree as the stop. So we'll just go to Edit Trip, we'll delete Uig, we'll add Portree, and we will move that up there, and then we'll click on Done, and we'll just calculate the batteries. So it's suggesting 31% battery charge at Uig and 8% charge at our final destination. However, it seems to take the ferry journey as a bit where we're going to be using electricity, which is incorrect. So we'll be on our way. So we are now at Huntly, and we have two options for getting to Inverness from here. And the regular option along the A96 is the default option, but sometimes that can be slower because of heavy traffic in Nairn and Elgin, and just slow traffic along the way. The alternative option is to turn left at this junction and go via Duffton and Aberlour and Carbridge and go that route. However, we're going to just carry on the A96, and the reason to do that is simply because we've got a couple of stops along here. The forecast journey time is about 4 minutes quicker this way than it is via Duffton. So we are coming up to the town of Nairn, and in Nairn there is a supermarket, and we're going to be pulling into there. I tend not to go to the supermarkets in Inverness because they just tend to be too busy, and you end up queuing to get in and out of the car park, which is not ideal. Now, in Aberdeenshire, there has recently been a spate of deployments of electric car chargers at the Tesco's car parks throughout the northeast. That hasn't yet occurred in Inverness from what I can see on the PodPoint app. But that may change my decisions to go to Sainsbury's instead of Tesco's in later months. In terms of where we are now, let's just have a look at the trip. And you can see we're doing about 230 watt hours per mile, which is very good. And in terms of the energy graph, let's just have a look at that. Show energy graph. So we're estimated to arrive in Portree with 34% charge, which is better than the 30% estimate that we've had. Okay, time to get some food. Well, here we are on the A82 between Drumnadrochid and Invermorriston on the banks of Loch Ness. And as you can see, it's quite a twisty road. It definitely is a road which is very engaging in terms of holding your attention as a driver. Not a good stretch of road to be stuck behind a slow driver, but as you can see today, we don't have that problem. So I'm just going to carry on down to Invermoriston and enjoy the drive. So now we're on the A87, just arrived at Loch Cluanie, and I am reliably informed that Cluanie, according to my Scottish girlfriend, is exactly how you pronounce it. So hopefully I will not be corrected in the comments section, but this is one of my favourite bits of the drive across from Loch Ness to Kyle of Lacouche. It's where the mountains really do rise up and become very, very scenic. And given that this is mid-March, the road is very quiet indeed. You don't have any queuing traffic with slow vehicles getting in the way, and it's a very delightful drive, this stretch of road. So we will then be on the road going down Glen Shiel, and that's also a very scenic route. What we have up here is a Munro. In fact, there's 5 Munros up there, the tallest of which is called Acrolaig, if I pronounce that correctly. I'm sure someone will correct my pronunciation as well. And at the other end of this loch, we've got the Cluanie Inn, which I've stayed at maybe about 6 years ago. It was very nice back then. It's now much bigger. They've added quite a lot of new buildings and new car parks. Yeah, it's a sign of the growing tourism which is happening in the Highlands of Scotland. So here we are in Glen Shiel, and what we have ahead is the North Glen Shiel Ridge, and the western half of the North Glen Shiel Ridge comprises the famous Five Sisters of Glen Shiel. The way up to the Five Sisters from this end, from the road, is supposed to be the steepest, longest section of hill footpath that you can encounter. I remember doing it some time ago now, and it was a continuous 40-degree slope rising up for about 600 meters straight from the roadside. As you can see, the footpath is on the other side of that forestry plantation. And then on the south side of Glen Shiel, we've got the South Glen Shiel Ridge, which consists of 7 Munros, and it was the first large outing I had in Scotland, climbing so many mountaintops in just one day. Again, the views are absolutely fantastic from the top. Not today though, with all the cloud, but if you catch it on a blue skies day, it's really quite remarkable. So we're coming up to Shiel Bridge now, and this place is well known for having feral goats in the local area. They're a favourite of my girlfriend's. When we saw them for the first time, they were all just sat there, not caring away at this bridge parapet coming up. And ever since we've returned to Glen Shiel, we've seen them periodically just in this local area, just hanging around. They're all black goats, and I think they're well known locally to be here. So we'll just drive along and see whether we can spot them. Sometimes we've seen them there, sometimes we've seen them at the causeway coming up. Okay, so here's the causeway going around the head of, I think it's Loch Duach. I'm not too sure if I pronounced that correctly. So the next stop will be Kyle of Lacouche, and no feral goats here, unfortunately. Maybe next time. So here we are at Kyle of Lacouche, which is the the last town before we get onto the bridge going across to the Isle of Skye. So we've got 40% battery here. Let's see how we're doing compared to the plan. Show energy graph. Okay, so we're below profile at the moment. We're forecast to be arriving at Portree 28% spare battery compared to the plan of the original forecast of 30%. So the difference between the A96 and here is that the wind has switched into our faces. The wind switched to the southwest instead of being from the southeast. The other thing that's happened is that the roads have just been a lot wetter, and wet roads, in my experience, really do add a lot of drag to the overall performance. But still, 28% is still not too bad in terms of a forecast. So here's the famous bridge over to the Isle of Skye. And you can't see it, but the view to the right of me is just showing up a magnificent outline of the red Culin Hills of Skye at the moment. You can't see the black hills. There's a bit too much cloud for that. And yeah, the windsocks are quite brisk, breezy at the moment today. So we are now approaching Portree. We've got a few things we want to get here. So we are at 28% charge. We've lost a fair bit of charge since Kyle. And overall, the journey, it's been about 246 watt hours per mile. Let's see where we can go. So that's long stay. We don't go that way. I think we go further along. And let's get this thing charged up. Okay, so another charger, and this is 30 pence per kilowatt hour, this charger. So what we'll do is we will plug this in like so, and then we will go onto the Scalpay Scotland charger and then give it a charge. So let's see this. Let's go into Portree. Want that one. And then we've got one station, and we've got CCS available, which is good. So I'm just going to start the charge, and then it's asking for my password, which is just annoying again. I do not know why it does that. Okay, so I've entered my password. Let's try this again. So I plugged in my vehicle, and then it should start very soon. Charge point is unavailable. So saying the charges are unavailable, this is not funny. Well, I phoned up the Scalpay Scotland helpline and told them the situation, and they told me that the Scalpay Scotland app doesn't always work. They recommended that I get this RFID card to make these chargers work more reliably in the future. But they were able to start the charge for me, and the result is that I've added 10% of battery charge now to my car. There is a 45-minute limit to charging up at this charger, and the reason they do that, I think, is to make sure that people aren't queuing for the charger. There are in total about 4 chargers in Portree alone. And another Tesla has rocked up and parked next to me. So it kind of shows that there is a high demand for chargers where they do exist, but thankfully they managed to get this working. In that 45 minutes, that was enough time for us to get a fish and chips and eat it. So now it's time to head off to Ewig and then onto the ferry. So we're now approaching Ewig. We're on the final descent into the village and the subsequent harbour, and we'll be waiting to board a ferry at the harbour on the way to Tarbert in Harris. So it's been about 8 years since I've been on a ferry to Tarbert and 10 years since I've been on a ferry from Lochmaddy. So it hasn't been too many times that I've been out to the Outer Hebrides, but we'll see what that is all about. So in the meantime, I'm just going to fast forward all the way to the harbour. Okay, let's get on the let's get into the queue. So we want to go here. Okay, in preparation for going on the ferry, one of the things I want to do is do some setting adjustments on the Tesla. And what I want to make sure doesn't happen is the security alarm goes off when the ship starts rolling about. So we've got tilt and intrusion mode switched off, and normally that's switched on. But we will just switch it off. The other thing we will do is we'll do a double parking brake for the ferry, and that's just to make sure that the car doesn't start rolling accidentally when the ferry's rocking about in high seas and so on. Normally there's just the rear parking brake which is activated, but it's recommended on hills, on slopes and snowy streets that you activate the double parking brake. Okay. Right, so time to get onto the ship now. Oh, we're next to a big crane. Right, that's us on. Well, we have to wear masks when on board public transport. That also extends to the outside decks as well. So here we are, saying farewell to the Isle of Skye and on to the Isle of Harris, and I will see you when we are just about to get off the ferry. So I returned to the car. One of the things I noticed from the car deck as soon as the ferry started sailing was my alarm actually went off. So this tilt intrusion sensor didn't work at all. Okay, so here we are heading off the ferry. One thing to note is that when we arrived at Ewig we had 33% battery, if I recall correctly, and whilst we were waiting for the ferry, even though we had the air conditioning switched off, the battery was still draining because we were using the radio and using YouTube. So we're leaving the ferry now with 30% charge, and hopefully we'll get to our destination with about 25 to 20% charge. So yes, welcome to the bright lights of Tarbert. So one of the reasons I took the Uig to Tarbert ferry instead of the Ullapool to Stornoway ferry is that the Tarbert ferry arrives on Harris at 8 o'clock, whereas the Stornoway ferry doesn't arrive until 9 o'clock. So our holiday cottage is about halfway between Tarbert and Stornoway, and for that reason I wanted to get to the holiday cottage a bit sooner. And the other reason is that I just find the drive a lot more scenic going through Skye and Glen Shiel and so on. I think it's very nice. So we'll just head on our way out of Tarbert and then onto the open road to Stornoway, or halfway between Stornoway and Tarbert. So we're about a mile away from our holiday cottage now. So we're coming up, approaching the small village of Ballalan now. You can see the street lights. So very nearly there. So it should be this cottage here. Right, here we are. So the holiday cottage that we rented is a 4-bedroom bungalow in the village of Ballalan. You can find it on the holidaylettings.co.uk website, and we paid about £750 for the week. We are only 2 people. Normally 1 bedroom is sufficient, but for an extra £100 we get a lot more space compared to some of the much smaller holiday lettings. We also had essentials such as a dishwasher, which are often absent from smaller holiday lettings. Excellent. So that's us at our final destination. So after arriving in the dark last night, you can see the setup that I have with my car and the charger cable going into a bedroom window and then being charged up from a wall socket on the outside. We arrived here with 22% charge. So although we added 10% charge in Portree, we could have arrived here with 12% charge and then charge up. This morning we've got about 56% charge after charging up for just over 12 hours now, which is more than adequate for us to do our tourism and sightseeing this morning. So we're going to get back in the car and we're going to go on a nice drive around the Isle of Lewis and Harris. So we are in North Harris and we're driving south to Tarbert and then onwards to South Harris. So up on the left with the snow, we've got the one and only Corbett in the Outer Hebrides called Clisham. And the Isle of Lewis and the Isle of Harris, it's all one island. Harris, from my perspective, is the southern portion of the island, and in particular it's the portion of the island which is a bit more lumpy. I'm not too sure where the actual boundary is, but this is the road which goes right along the length of the island from Stornoway to Leverburgh, and it's a very quiet road to drive on a Sunday, certainly. I've been on this road when cycling and about 10 years ago, and there are times when I could be cycling for 45 minutes on this road and not a single car would pass me. But we will carry on with this journey and I'll show you some other nice bits. So we're approaching the high point on the main road, Clisham up ahead, and it's quite scenic up here, quite like it. So now we're coming up to some sandy portions on the west coast of South Harris. Rachel, what's that one called again? What's that one called again?
What?
That beach. A big one.
Tyre?
Scenic Tyre. Okay, that sounds about right, yes. So it's got a different character, the South Island, the South Harris portion of Harris. It's still a bit lumpy, but not as lumpy. But you've got these absolutely gorgeous beaches to walk along. So it's quite a mixed road. You get these nice straight bits, and then you get these single track sections of road. So it makes for an interesting drive. So I think we'll be exploring Scenic Tyre Beach on the way back. So getting close to the first point of our destination at Horgebost, and we're going to see McLeod Stone, go for a little walk around there. Okay, so we've got a car park coming up on the right. So we'll stop here. What a lovely view. Here we go. Right. Alright, time to get some hiking boots on. So here we have McLeod Stone. Just for reference, this stone's about 3 meters tall. And it's reckoned to be about 4,500 years old. So in the background, we've got North Harris, and in the foreground we've got the island of Taranzay. And Taranzay, that's fairly famous in recent history. It was a location for a reality show, which I never watched. Over here, out to the west, you've got thousands of miles of ocean, and next stop is Newfoundland in Canada. And then looking further south, I can't remember what this bump is, I'll put it in the description. And then we've got the beach, which I walked along, which was very tiring, and we're not too far from the car. So this is McLeod Stone, very nice. So here we've got the beach of Los Gantier. We've got a small bump called Bendoub. Then behind we've got Cleesham, and then we've got the remaining North Harris Hills. This, for some people, is one of the finest locations you can have anywhere. I've had one friend comparing the view from here to the view that you get from beaches in Thailand, and he reckons this place is better than what you can get almost anywhere else in the world. I like this place, it's great, it's fantastic. Well, here I am on the Scenic Tyre sands, and you know, these sands are absolutely, they're vast, they really are vast. I think we're at mid to low tide here. Now I want to talk to you about electric car driving on the Isle of Harris and Lewis. So what I've got here is the Zap Map, and Zap Map hasn't been updated by ChargePlay Scotland for quite a number of months. There have been new charges added into Aberdeenshire which don't appear on Zap Map, and what you can see here is that even so, there are still a few electric car chargers on the Isle of Harris and Lewis. But if you have a look at the ChargePlay Scotland app, you can see that there are actually a few more chargers which have been added. So for example, in the village of Balalan, for example, we've got a charger at the primary school, and the chargers are available at 22 kilowatts, and in this instance it costs 20 pence per kilowatt hour, which is, in the grand scheme of electricity prices right now, that's actually quite reasonable. The other thing I want to just point out is that whilst I'm out here, I still have to pay money for charging, but it's also worth bearing in mind that back at home we are generating electricity. Not so much today, but other days this week we'll be generating even more electricity, and that electricity is going to be exported, and the prices which I'm seeing at the moment are somewhere between 15 and 20 pence per kilowatt hour. So unit for unit we are roughly on parity in terms of what we're charging up here versus what we're exporting at home. But as you can see, we're just going to go for a nice walk along here and see what the sands have to offer in terms of sights. I can see there's an oyster catcher nearby, and there's probably going to be quite a few more oyster catchers around, and we'll just see what's around here. Okay, so we are on a footpath out of Groves Bay. This is a circular walk in South Harris, and it turns out there's a network of old footpaths which were used as scholarly routes, and it's quite a scene which is reminiscent out of Sutherland. So you've got lots of rocky terrain and quite bumpy ground. I'm hoping we can get a view at some point where we can look out east to the Isle of Skye and the mainland. We had glimpses of it a moment ago, and it was really quite spectacular. So here we can see Neast Point on the Isle of Skye, and looking further southeast we can see the Cuillin Hills of the Isle of Skye, and then we can see the whole Trottenish Peninsula here, and then we've got some snowy mountains, and then we've got Torridon Peaks, and then we have got the Fisherfield and Flowerdale mountain tops here. And then over here we have got Anchelac, I think, and Benjerag. And over here we've got the Assynt Hills, including Colmore and Colbeg. Looking further north, I think we are looking at the Sutherland Hills just here. So it's the new day. It's day number 2 on the Isle of Lewis, and we recharged overnight. We had 75% charge when we started driving this morning. So yeah, we can't fully recharge to 100%, but at the same time we're on holiday, so we're not going to be driving full mileage every single day. So it doesn't really matter that we've got a slow charge. So today we are off to the Callanish Stone Circles, and it's about 25 minutes drive from our holiday cottage, and it's quite a mixture of roads. Some of them are quite twisty roads on the main Tarbert to Stornoway route, and then you get nice long straight sections like this. But I will say the roads are quite bouncy, and that's probably reflective of the fact that all of this is built on bogland, so you get a bit of subsidence. It's a common feature in the Northwest Highlands as well. But yes, although the Isle of Lewis is very flat, the views from any elevated locations are really quite extensive. So towards the south you can see the upland areas of the Isle of Harris, and towards the east you can see the mainland of Scotland, and you can see all the mountains rising up there. So it is certainly a beautiful location to be in. This Callanish 2. Now I've probably done the wrong Google Maps search. Let's go to here. So Callanish Stones Visitor Centre. We'll turn left here.
You think you've done it on?
Yeah. So what I do is I use Google Maps to figure out the destination, and then I send that destination to my car, and then there's stone circles 1, 2 and 3 by the looks of the signs. So I sent the directions to stone circles number 2, and I should have sent it to stone circles number 1. So we'll go to the main visitor centre, and then we'll do our walk from there. Okay, so now time to get the hiking boots on. Okay, so here are the standing stones of Callanish. So this is reckoned to be 4,000 years old, and apparently there were some ashes in containers which were buried here, and they were excavated in the 1980s. They were dated around 2000 BC. So it's quite a scenic backdrop here, so long as you don't look at the houses in the other direction. It's an interesting place to visit. So in the vicinity of Callanish stone circles, you can drive about 20 minutes further away and you get to the Bostad Iron Age house, and this is not an original Iron Age house. This is a reconstruction of an Iron Age house. It's a earthen roof, and it's got a underground entrance basically. It's let's have a look here. So it's down there, the entrance. It is closed at the moment. You can visit it inside in later dates, but it is closed right now. And it's right next to the beach here. So this is a local volunteer group which is taking donations to restore the site and keep it, maintain upkeep. So yeah, worth a visit here. We are now in North Harris, and we took a walk up this track, and we've ended up at this Golden Eagle Observatory, and my girlfriend is quite keen to see if we can find golden eagles today. We're not so hopeful. There's a lot of low cloud. They do like to have their thermals for soaring, but it seems unlikely to see them, but it's a nice glen to walk up anyway. So it's another day, and this one is a much windier affair. We're off to Stornoway just to browse the shops. Wind gusts today are about 45 to 50 mile an hour, so we're touching severe gale force winds out here, and those kind of wind speeds are fairly common for this part of the world. And there was a newspaper article I wanted to discuss with you, which I was reading this morning, and it was about the impact of the rising cost of living on island communities such as the Western Isles. Now, islanders out here are a pretty resilient bunch of people. They have to deal with all sorts of arduous things such as transport disruption and very strong winds over the winter time. I spoke with one person. They had, in the year 2004, a particular storm where the wind speeds reached 130 miles an hour, and that's pretty extreme. Let's get the demister on. And yeah, they were saying that entire rooftops were destroyed in that particular storm. So that's just part and parcel of what they have to deal with. But I was, in conjunction with the article I was reading today, I was doing a little bit of research, and the long-term projections for population in the Western Isles is for it to decrease by over 6% between the years 2018 and 2028, and that's significant. And the rising cost of energy that we're seeing in recent months and weeks is just going to accelerate that depopulation. So as an example, in this newspaper article, there was a hotel in Loch Boisdale which was basically having to scale back its opening hours to the summer season only, simply because they couldn't afford the heating costs over the winter time. And it's a shame. And the thing that the newspaper article was focusing on was what kind of help these businesses and communities can receive to help address the cost of living. And we're talking about government help in terms of VAT and business rates and so on. But I just think to myself, the focus on the newspaper article or the BBC News article didn't mention renewable power and microgeneration investments at all. And yet, you go on a day like today, this is not at all uncommon, these kind of wind speeds. And I haven't seen very many micro wind turbines attached to properties. I've seen very few solar power. I've seen very few solar panels attached to rooftops around here. There have been a few properties with solar panels, not many. And I just think to myself, that really should be the policy focus from now on for these kind of communities. There is going to be a big challenge going forwards. The supply chains for solar power components is now really very tight indeed. There was an article I read that basically said that supply has to increase by just 30% just to meet existing demand, let alone future demand. So we're seeing things such as inverters going out of stock. You can still buy solar panels, but supply chains there will probably become very long as well. So yeah, I think people need to put particular focus on renewable power in communities like this going forwards. One of the big obstructions to that is planning permission. So in Scotland, if you want to install a wind turbine, the only circumstances where planning permission is not required is where the distance to the next property curtilage is more than 100 metres. For most properties in a village, that kind of excludes wind turbines. You'd need planning permission in every single instance for that. And planning permission does add a lot of cost to a project. Not just in terms of the application fee, but all the supporting engineering and architect's drawings that need to support that application. So in the meantime, we're just going to carry on this road to Stornoway and on this windy day, and enjoy some of the services that are on offer there. So I'm nearly at the summit of Clishan, but I haven't got all the way to the summit. We do have a lot of snow, and I don't have my ice axe, and the ridge is starting to taper off. So normally I would have my ice axe for steeper sections, but I am very close to the summit. What we can see, however, is a very fine view. This is looking south across to South Harris. You can look east across the Minch. A bit more hazy today, so we can only just see the Isle of Skye. And then looking north, we can see Lewis. Let's just have a look, see what the rest of the ridge looks like. So it's not particularly steep, but it just feels a little bit more exposed without having all of my ice tools. The snow is quite wet. No doubt it will sublime and melt during the course of today, but it was unfortunate that today, the day after the severe gales, is the only real good opportunity to climb this mountain. We've got more gales forecast for tomorrow. So downwards, and then we'll go on and do some more touristy things. So we are in the village of Leverborough, which is in South Harris. Today is a day of sunshine and showers on a gale to severe gale force wind, and we've had incessant showers in the morning, and just now we've just been hit by another squally shower which had severe gale force, even storm force gusts just blasting us in the car park as we were returning from the shop. So on a day like today, so far we've gone to a Harris Tweed shop. It's called the Glen Borisdale Tweed, which is in Leverborough, and I got some Harris Tweed pillows to add to my single Harris Tweed item, which I've already got, which is a little Harris Tweed cow called Hamish at home. So that's something ordered on something to do, bit of shopping on a rainy day. But here we've got some quite scenic drives on the west of Harris, but yeah, it's a wild day today, that's for sure. So our next destination is going to be Tarbert. We haven't stopped here for much, but the general plan for today, depending on the weather, which the showers should be coming less frequent now, we should be attempting a circuit of Scalpay, which is an island just east of Tarbert, off Harris. It's going to be quite a lively walk, I suspect, and later on in the day we're planning to go for another walk up one of the glens in the west of North Harris. So we're on the road east of Loch Tarbert, and we're heading off to the island of Scalpay. And you can see the bridge coming into view now, heading off there. That bridge was opened up in 1998, and it was opened by Tony Blair, and I think he was the first ever serving Prime Minister to visit the Outer Hebrides whilst serving as a Prime Minister. So what our plan is once we get onto Scalpay, we're going to be doing a circular walk, going around the island. And here we've got a traffic jam involving 2 people queuing up. People, I suppose, just like to have a good old bit of gossip on the road. Apparently, on the before the bridge was open, people caught up with their gossip on the ferry whilst waiting for it. But now it seems like they catch up with their gossip just passing by, as we just seen. So Scalpay is also known as Treasure Island by the people on Harris, and apparently it's quite a prosperous island to live on in terms of fishing, amongst other things. From what I've read, I might stand corrected on that one, but it's quite an impressive bridge considering the size of the community that lives on the island, I'm guessing. Okay, so we are now on the summit on the island of Scalpay. We're looking east to the lighthouse, and then if we look to the north, we can see the Isle of Lewis, and we look northwest, we can see Loch Seaforth, and we can see Clishem over in the distance. So it's a day, an afternoon of gale force winds, quite a lot of haze. You can't really see the Isle of Skye too well, but we're going to carry on and then return back to the car. So we're on the way back home. We've just left Tarbert and we're just going round a corner at Hebridean, which no doubt I've pronounced incorrectly. Coming up ahead, we've got Clishem, and we've had a nice spell of weather on the island of Scalpay. The walk that we wanted to do, which was a big circuit around Scalpay, on the north side, that route is really very boggy, and progress was very slow. Over the 3 kilometers we were doing it. It took us about 2 hours to do, simply because we were just jumping from across one boggy pit to another. It was only once we got beyond the summit, which I filmed at, that we started to get onto a good track going to the lighthouse. But the route back from the lighthouse along the south side of Scalpay was all paved footpath, so that was very good. So in the meantime, I'm just going to leave you with a fast forward of the drive going the other way, up and over the moorland. So I forgot to bring my windproof camera today, but we're doing a walk past this dam here, and we're going to see what is apparently the tallest overhang in the United Kingdom. So the hills around here in North Harris in the west side are about 600 odd meters tall. Not so tall, but they look pretty big, and they're certainly very characterful, shall we say. So we're going to continue walking along this loch and get to the viewpoint for the overhang, which is still a few hours walk away. So here we have, on the other side of a 250 metre high mountain pass, is one of the highest overhangs in the United Kingdom, apparently. So this is apparently 250 metres of vertical or overhanging rock. So I'm guessing it drops down from an altitude of 500 metres down to maybe 200 metres. So yeah, very interesting. The footpath going to here is a very good stalker's path. It's very good conditions underfoot. The ground either side of the stalker's path is heather, and it's quite a mix of rough ground, boulders and bog as well. So yeah, it's a very good, I think it's about 2 hours walk out and it'll be about 2 hours walk back. So we went to the North Harris Eagle Observatory hide again. My girlfriend was quite keen to see if we could find any more eagles. So this trip we've actually seen 3 eagles. One was at the North Harris, one was just north of the North Harris Observatory. The second one was on the slopes of Clisham, and that was quite close. We could see quite a bit of detail on the eagle, but it was unfortunately too brief for me to get a picture of. And then the third instance was today, and what we had today was an instance of a sea eagle flying above our car on the main road between Ballalan and Tarbert, and I could see its distinct shape, and it had a paler neck and head, which I believe means it's a sea eagle. But no eagles at the Eagle Observatory today. Now, when we were doing the hike up to the overhang earlier on today, I received an email, and that was from Calmac. And tomorrow they have cancelled our sailing from Tarbert to Uig because of adverse weather. So instead, we had 3 options. One was a sailing today at 4 o'clock. It's now 20 past 3, so of course we couldn't make that one without curtailing our holiday. The other options were from Stornoway to Ullapool. So we are taking the 7 o'clock in the morning ferry tomorrow morning from Stornoway. I do have to say, I've looked at the weather forecast for tomorrow, and the weather forecast is a lot less severe compared to today, and it's a lot less severe compared to previous days this week, and yet previous days they have operated all of their ferries, although admittedly they have operated some of them with delays of 2 hours or more to take advantage of better weather. But I do have to say, my overall impression is that Calmac do seem to disrupt ferry services whenever the wind speeds start to touch gale force winds on the forecasts, which is rather disappointing, because gale force winds are quite a frequent feature of this part of the world. And not only that, but other ferry operators, in particular Northlink ferries, do seem to sail their ships in far more rougher weather than what we see out here. There have been plenty of stories of people having pretty horrific journeys on the Northlink ferry service from Aberdeen to Shetland, for example, because of high seas and storms. And yeah, it just doesn't seem to be something which Calmac are willing to operate in. Right, we've got a car behind us. I'm going to find a passing place with some opportunity for overtaking right here. So sadly, the walk we've just done is the final walk that we will be doing in the Outer Hebrides on this holiday. However, the fact that we are taking the 7 o'clock ferry tomorrow means we should be in Ullapool at 10 o'clock. And with that in mind, we are discussing the options of doing something back on the mainland for our last day of holiday. So, by the time we finish charging up tonight, we will have had 185 kilowatt hours of charge delivered to this car from this house over the course of the whole week. And at 20 pence per kilowatt hour, that works out at about £36. But you need to bear in mind that back at home, my house has been generating solar power and it's been exporting it to the grid. Over the course of the last week, including tomorrow, which is forecast to be a day of non-stop unbroken sunshine, we will have generated and exported 160 kilowatt hours. At the moment, the running total is about 125, but I'm expecting to be exporting about 35 kilowatt hours tomorrow. That demonstrates to me that when the export price is about the same as the import price as it is right now, it's a rare set of circumstances, but it demonstrates that the cost of my journey has almost been paid for in terms of driving. That essentially means that the only journey costs I've got is 25 kilowatt hours worth of electricity, and in addition to that, there is, of course, the ferry journey itself. So we're going to do our final drive tomorrow, and I'll catch you then. Okay, so here we are driving onto the Stornoway ferry. This is departing at 7 o'clock. The ferry we are going onto is called the Loch Seaforth, and it's the newest, largest ferry in the CalMac fleet. I say it's the newest. There is a newer one, but not a big new ferry. And this journey will take about 2.5 hours to get to Ullapool. This ramp looks quite steep, actually. There we go. I do worry about scraping the car. Left.
Oh, what you do? Run that maybe.
Right, there we go. Let's get out of here. Well, here we are, leaving Stornoway Harbour on our way back to the mainland. It's quite breezy here. I'd say it's probably a strong wind on the open deck here. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting crossing, and then we'll see the mainland come into view. So now we are sailing past the Outer Headlands on the mainland. These are what are known as the Summer Isles. So over here we can see Ben Jereg in the distance, and we'll be taking a walk later on today, which passes fairly close to that mountaintop. So on the south side of the ferry we can see Anchalak, and we can see the Fisherfield Mountains, and we're starting to pass, we've got Grunod Island over here as well, and further south we've got the Torridon Mountains. So here we are, Ullapool Harbour. probably about 5 minutes before we dock. So we are just about to head off the ferry at Ullapool. A couple of things I want to say. The car alarm went off several times, and that is in spite of the fact that the PILT intrusion alarm was disabled. You can't turn off the security alarm at all. It's annoying. I've looked this up on Google. There are only two ways of overcoming this. One is to put your car into dog mode, which leaves your climate control switched on for the entirety of the journey. The other option is to switch your car off entirely, and that's called powering it off. So yeah, it's not so well equipped to deal with ferries. The other thing I want to talk about is the ferry ramp. Now, on this side of the journey, there was no problem, as we just saw, but it was quite a steep ramp going up onto the ferry at Stornoway. And the issue of grounding is a problem for certain vehicles, particularly low vehicles. A lot of people who drive Porsches, for example, were discussing the issue of grounding when coming on and off ferries. Apparently CalMac will help you out with some extra planks to get you on and off the ferry. It's much more of a problem for camper vans where you've got a big overhang, and it's more of an issue for ferries which are smaller, and you've got a lot more variation in terms of high and low tide. So here we are in Ullapool, about to head out and on our way to our next walk. So higher up we've got a much grander view of the Fannocks, with Skirmore on the left and Sker Nanclac Gila towards the middle. Then we have the Western Fannock Munros up here. Then over here we've got the Fisherfield Munros, and then we've got Anchelac. And depending on how we are feeling, this is Corbett. I'll put the name in the subtitles. It's about 880 meters tall, and we may or may not climb that today. Okay, so we are now at the saddle point beneath the Corbett. So here we have nicely framed is Anchelac here. If we look around the other way, yeah, it's a nice view here. We don't have enough time to get up to the Corbett, unfortunately. If we do that, we'll end up getting home quite late. So we're just going to head back down to the car now, and we'll reconvene there. So that was our short little walk. It took about 4 hours to do. So now it's the bulk of the drive home now. We've got 87% battery. We started at our accommodation with 99% battery. So we're going to have lots of spare battery when we get back to the car, hopefully. And in the meantime, we've just got a nice bit of driving just north of the Fannocks and just south of Benjerag. So I'm just going to fast forward here, and you can enjoy the scenery for this short distance. Well, here we are on the Keswick Bridge. It's one of my landmark milestones on any journey to and from the Northwest Highlands. So far today we've driven 70 miles. We're at 73% battery, and we're doing just over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is a good amount. So we'll probably get to our final destination, my house, with about just under 50% battery. If we were to do the long route via Ewig today, then we would probably have gotten back home with about 15% battery or so. So it's quite a bit quicker going via Ullapool to the Outer Hebrides. So we are now at Huntly, and we are at the 50% charge point on this route, and that basically means that from Huntly to where we had our bed and breakfast, you could do a return trip on one charge. That's pretty impressive. I don't know what we've done so far. Let's just have a look. If we go to trips, so since the last charge we've done 138 miles, so that's about 276 miles of driving. And I'm going to have to say most of the journey we've done here has been into a headwind for much of today. So that's impressive performance in that regards. Well, that's it for another holiday. I ended up at my house with 46% charge after starting at 98% charge at the beginning of my journey in the Isle of Lewis. That's a good distance of driving through Scotland. And I think it shows that there's absolutely nothing to worry about when it comes to driving an electric car on holiday in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. In my instance, I was in rented holiday accommodation, and I had access to a regular 240 volt socket outlet. That's no problem at all. But even if you're on holiday in a hotel and you don't have access to those chargers, there are other chargers throughout the islands which you can rely upon. In Tarbert itself, there is a 50 kilowatt charger at the main village car park, for instance. That's useful to rely upon if you just want to park up in Tarbert and go to any of the shops for about 45 minutes. No problem at all. And throughout the remaining part of the islands, there are plenty of 22 kilowatt chargers to rely upon as well. And that's an excellent thing. I haven't had to do that. So in terms of videos coming up, hopefully sometime in April I'm going to have a battery installed, and I want to have a lot of talk about that. I want to see if my electrician is up for having a little bit of a spiel on YouTube as well, and maybe having a bit of action of him doing some wiring and installation work. I think that might be interesting. In terms of driving my Model 3, I haven't got anything planned for YouTube, but I do have journeys planned personally. It's another journey to the south of England. I'm not too sure whether it's worth doing a third video shoot of my journey to West Sussex. I think a lot of that has been covered in my previous videos, and I'm not too sure what a third video could add to that content. So in the meantime, the day's now getting much lighter. It just so happens that the weather forecast for the Outer Hebrides over the next 3 or 4 days is for unbroken sunshine. So that's just perfect timing for my holiday. I mean, everyone just loves gale force winds and rain in your face, don't they? So I feel sorry for those people who are going out to the Hebrides just now. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you again very soon.